Welcome to the ArmaniTalks podcast. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. In this podcast, I'm helping you level up your 5 soft skills: public speaking, storytelling, social dynamics, emotional intelligence, and creativity. 5 soft skills for you to change your life forever, skyrocket your confidence along the way. In today's episode, we're entering the world of social skills, and we're going to be talking about energy vampires. In my last job, there was this guy named, let's call him Glenn. I don't want to say his real name because I never know who is listening to this podcast. Glenn was someone that I considered a subject matter expert. He was roughly in his 50s, although he didn't look like it. He looked like he was in his mid-30s, so he did pretty well for himself in that regards. Physically, he looked young, but mentally, he felt old. This is one of the biggest whiners that I ever met in my life. Although he was a subject matter expert, his experience was something that was weighing him down. Rather than being smarter from all the knowledge that he's accumulated throughout the years, what he used his experience for was to poke holes in other people's game. Now, at first, I was starting to think, why isn't this guy getting fired? I mean, Glenn does not only give his coworkers a pretty hard time, he also gives management a hard time as well. Glenn was one of the few guys that would go out of his way to talk back to the managers, and throughout the meetings, he would routinely ask questions which would undermine the managers and make them look goofy to the other workers. Time and time again, I used to think, okay, this time Glenn has gone too far, and this time he is about to get fired. And each time, I was proven wrong. See, what happened was Glenn was a master in terms of his skill set, so the company felt a little scared to let a subject matter expert like him go. However, if you were to ask me, this was not the smart decision. The reason why was because Glenn did not have the right attitude. I was reading this one book a couple of months back, and there was one line in the book that taught me so much about leadership. The founder said, "You hire for attitude and you train for aptitude," which meant that the attitude is the most important part, especially when you're hiring new talent. Because the thing is, if let's say these managers weren't cowards or scared of losing a guy like Glenn, and they're like, you know what, Glenn, you're this energy vampire. You're taking all this energy out of these offices. You, my friend, are fired. And they had faith that they can hire someone that has an empowering attitude. Even though they don't have the same skill sets as Glenn, they have the faith that they can eventually train for aptitude. If they took that route, I guarantee you that company would have been so much more ahead. Never underestimate how powerful enthusiasm is for a startup company or a corporate company. The problem with a lot of corporate companies is that they're so freaking scaled that they don't have that same heart that a lot of others do. And this is one of the reasons that in terms of your life, whether you're dealing with people that you're working with or just friends in general, there comes a moment when energy vampires need to be distanced from. Some energy vampires are so ingrained in our lives that we unfortunately cannot distance from them. It may be a coworker like Glenn. It may be a family member. Well, in these scenarios, the energy vampires can surprisingly provide some high ROI activity in terms of making us challenge ourselves and build our character to deal with all types of personalities. But for the most part, do your best to cut off the energy vampires that you can. You never know how much these vampires are having an effect on your internal world and your creative thinking faculties. There's no need to stay in touch with them if they are not benefiting you in any way. Think big, have a strong attitude, and soon you will feel unstoppable and you will not feel like the Glens of the world. If you enjoyed today's talk and you want more practical insights like this into communication skills, be sure to check out my YouTube channel. I know a lot of people have initially found me through this podcast. And if you want to see me talking and sharing a lot of my ideas, subscribe to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel. I post every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I drop topics on public speaking, social skills, emotional intelligence, and much more. Join the tribe by checking out the link in the description box, or go on YouTube, type down ArmaniTalks, and subscribe today. Thank you very much for joining the ArmaniTalks podcast, and I'll catch you next time.